I'm very honored to have been called together to be with you and to share with you something of our common interest in creativity in the church. I have been involved in working with symbols and connected with the church for the last 50 years and more. I was especially interested from my childhood in the ideas of Francis of Assisi. I was brought up, my mother was very keen on Francis of Assisi, and I was brought up in Dehradun, where there was a church, Franciscan church, with a priest who came from Italy, and the decoration on in the church were done by Italian on the life of St. Francis. In fact, Lucy also was brought up in the same town, Dehradun, which is now the capital of Uttarakhand. And it was there that I began to feel that I would like to express some of the creativity which Francis of Assisi represents. In fact, I was sent to Assisi by the Bishop of Beirut, who was at that time an Italian Franciscan. More recently, the Roman Catholic Pope Francis, who is also very keen on St. Francis, has brought out various encyclicals, and the first famous encyclical, Laudato Si, is named after the first two words of the Song of St. Francis, which he composed at various times in his life, but finished just before he died, which is called either the Canticle of Brother Sun or the Canticle of All Creation. And it begins with praise, Laudato, and it includes an idea of creation as somehow a marriage between opposites, between sun and moon, between the fire and water, between earth and the various seasons and flowers, which are called brother and sister by him. Now, this idea was new at that time. Francis, I think, was about the 12th century, and it was a new way of understanding creation as a marriage between opposites in nature, which we think sometimes of as fighting each other, but can also be understood as brother and sister. And I think that what the encyclical Laudato Si stresses is that the suffering which is in humanity, what we are concerned with in liberation theology, is meaningful only if we include in that suffering the suffering of creation, which, as St. Paul says, is groaning and in travail for liberation. This is Romans, I think 6, as equal to our own longing for liberation and freedom. And at this particular time, we are particularly faced with the destruction of our environment, which is manifested in climate change and in many other forms, which we are now facing as an ecological crisis. So I have felt more increasingly that Christian art should include not only human beings, but the whole of creation. That it should include a praise and an understanding that in many ways we are responsible for the suffering which is present in creation. I was struck by a sermon which I heard about the receiving of the stigmata by Francis towards the end of his life, when in a mysterious way on Mount Alverno he received the wounds which were in Christ. And somebody spoke about these wounds as not only wounds in the human body, but the wounds in the whole of creation. Creation is wounded. Creation is suffering. And it is, I think, that experience of the suffering of human beings in relationship always to creation that Christian art is particularly concerned with. I have been involved with the creation of what was called the Asian Christian Art Association, which was started in Bali, in an ashram there, called Dhyan Ashram, and it brought together many artists who took Christian themes in their art. And I went there, it was said 1978, and somehow at that time I assumed that all these artists who had assembled were Christians. But I was surprised at that time. I asked somebody which church he belonged to. It was ecumenical in the sense that people from different denominations were present. But he said to me, "I'm not a Christian." I said, "What are you?" He said, "I'm a Buddhist." He came from Thailand. And gradually I realized that Buddhism was in fact the link between what we might call Asian art generally. Buddhism coming from India went across to Sri Lanka, but also to Thailand, to other countries, right as far as Japan. And when we were talking about Christian art in Asia, it became apparent that it also included interreligious art which is not only Christian, but is a bringing together of other faiths, particularly Buddhism and Christianity, but also Hinduism, also I feel Islam. In fact, in 2012, I was invited to Jerusalem for a meeting of artists belonging to Abrahamic faiths, Jewish, Islamic, Christian, and how art could be a way of finding peace between the the Abrahamic faiths. So that was also an important experience for me to realize that Christianity is not the only one which talks about peace. After all, Islam also is concerned with peace and with salam alaikum. And shalom is also in the Jewish tradition, and shanti in India. So this search for peace is what actually even St. Francis said that should be the greetings between human beings. Peace be with you. Peace be with you is one of the basic and most revered way of greeting another person. So this offering of peace is something which art can do. Not only the visual arts, music, poetry, all this comes from this longing of giving peace to other people. So it is in that spirit that I feel that we should think about Christian art, not just art about Christ or about the Gospels or about even the Old Testament, but art concerned with the whole of creation and all people who are searching for truth, whatever their religion. So it is something which is truly ecumenical. Thank you.